You know that the truth always finds a way. There's no escaping it. He hid in the shadows, but darkness is never permanent. What you saw, rehearsed smiles, empty promises, evasive glances. What you felt, distrust, anxiety, growing emptiness. He lies. He disguises himself. He betrays. And you, in search of explanations, justify it. You try to understand the inexplicable. Nothing changes. The cycle repeats, and you remain. His mask falls as the details accumulate. Deleted messages, secret meetings, a change in energy. Reality is not kind. The light reveals who he really is. You observe and still wait. You believe that everything can change. This is not love, this is manipulation. The bond only exists because you sustain it. You maintain this illusion. While you struggle to believe, the truth presents itself. He is not here for you, and you still wonder why things don't change. The choice is yours. When you decide to see, reality has already been presented. With each passing day, you find yourself trapped in a maze of distorted emotions. Hope is like a shadow cast on the wall, always present, but never reached. He returns with sweet words, promises that echo like a siren's song, and you, even knowing the deceit, get lost in the charm. You observe the gestures, the small lies hidden behind the excuses. You know that time is not an ally, and that memory is selective. With each received message, with each ignored call, you realize that the pain becomes familiar. The routine turns into a vicious cycle, where your expectations are undone by the deafening silence. He ignores your need for clarity, while you adapt to the uncertainty. It's a game where the rules are defined only by him. There is no room for your voice. You find yourself bowing your head, accepting what should be unacceptable. Interactions become a theater where the only actress without a script is you. The truth is there, glaring, but you persist in wearing the glasses of denial. The love you feel is not reciprocated. It is an empty echo. Every time he appears, something inside you dies a little more. The possibility of change becomes an illusion you nurture, while he continues to dance around you, indifferent to your suffering. You try to distract yourself, to involve him in your plans, in your achievements, but he always seems to be one step behind, watching your progress as a distant spectator. You shine, but he doesn't see it. He refuses to recognize the light you radiate. For him, you are a reflection of himself, an extension of his unfulfilled desires, and so you question yourself, where is the true love? Where is the reciprocity? But this questioning dissolves in the multitude of moments when you feel invisible. When silence imposes itself, you wonder if you are still worthy of being heard. The bond becomes an anchor, pulling you down. You cling to it, convinced that letting go would mean getting lost. Every interaction turns into a mixture of hope and despair. You make silent vows, promising yourself that it will be the last time you will hear those empty words. However, certainty fades, and you find yourself once again surrendered to the enchantment. He knows it. He plays with your vulnerability like a maestro conducts his symphony. The signs are clear. Reality does not change according to your expectations. The pattern repeats, but you insist on believing that the next time will be different. The fear of abandoning what is known weighs more than the possibility of an uncertain future. You have convinced yourself that pain is part of life, a transition that cannot be avoided. In this cycle of waiting, you have become a spectator of your own storyline. Time moves on, but you remain stuck in a chapter that never ends. The walls of this labyrinth are built from your own decisions. It is you who chooses to remain in this confined space, believing you deserve something better, but acting as if this is all you have. Conversations get lost in unfulfilled promises. You find yourself repeating the same dialogues, the same frustrations, like a tape recorded in a loop. And him? He watches, knowing that your resistance is also your weakness. He doesn't commit because you don't set boundaries. You are a constant in his life, a presence that has become a certainty. When you finally face the naked truth, you understand that change is not an act of his, but your decision. The weight you carry is the result of your choices. There is no savior in sight. There are no magical solutions. Clarity comes when you say goodbye to the idea that change depends on him. Now, you realize that truths are unchangeable. Eyes that wander have no place in your life. The emotional cost is too high. You need to understand that the value of your presence must be respected, not manipulated. The journey you fear to face is the only way out of this labyrinth. Cycles end when you decide to walk away. The reality has already been presented. Every moment you choose not to live under this shadow will be a step toward your freedom. You no longer need to justify yourself. It's time to define yourself. You find yourself in front of a mirror, reflecting not just your image but your choices. What do you see? A worn-out self, shaped by emotional wear and tear. The light reveals invisible scars, marks left by a distorted love that only exists in the shadows. He appears again, a familiar ghost that has stripped off the truth and wears the skin of manipulation. You feel a knot in your stomach, anxiety pulsating like a drum. In this moment, it's hard to realize that the pain is not a consequence of what he does, but of your obedience to the cycle. You decide it's time to rewrite the narrative. The first step is to recognize that his appeal no longer has the same effect. Every message, every missed call echoes in an empty room. The connection you believe to be strong reveals itself to be a thin thread about to break, and as you observe, a small inner voice begins to question, how long will you accept so little? Time passes, but your heart struggles with the idea of leaving behind that figure who has always been a mystery. The fear of the unknown is a weight you carry, an anchor pulling you down. But what if the unknown is not so terrible? What if behind that darkness there is something more, a blank space, untapped potential? These thoughts, these whispers, gain strength. Each day you realize that the expectation of change is tied to your willingness to act. He may continue to dance in the shadows, but you have the power to change the scene. Soon it becomes evident that true freedom is not about breaking all bonds, but about letting go of those that are unhealthy. That idea of love you carried for so long begins to crumble. What you felt was not love, but a need for validation, a search for something that deep down you already possess: self-worth, dignity, self-love. These truths are dormant within you, waiting for the opportunity to bloom. The enlightenment that comes is raw. There is no more room for illusions. Every promised word, every misunderstood gesture is now seen under the light of reality. The excuses that once seemed plausible now sound like distant echoes. You no longer need to justify yourself for believing in the possibility of love. In place of nostalgia, a renewed desire for authenticity emerges. The role of spectator no longer fits you. You want to be the author of your own narrative, and that means freeing yourself from the shackles imposed by others. This decision can be painful. The idea of losing someone who knows your deepest secrets is intimidating, but true courage lies in facing the unknown. Now, as the days pass, you dedicate yourself to understanding and cultivating your own essence. Light and shadow play no longer have a place. Each small step toward yourself is a victory. You seek new experiences, new encounters that don't make you feel like a fuse waiting for a spark. Interactions change. You discover that there are people who value reciprocity. Each conversation is a reminder that there is life outside of that emotional prison. By opening yourself to the new, you allow yourself to flow, no longer trapped in the chains of what was, but free to explore what could be. And then he appears again, eyes full of empty promises. But now, instead of wavering, you hold your ground. His words no longer have the same impact. You are no longer drawn to the illusion that once seemed tempting. Looking into his eyes, you feel a mix of compassion and detachment. He tries to reverse the game, but you are no longer at peace. You uncover the hidden cards beneath the table. You know that the connection he offers is not worth the price. The emptiness you felt was not an abyss. It was a space prepared to welcome yourself. Upon reconnecting with your own essence, you realize that change begins with the recognition of truth. Each day you choose not to live under the shadow of doubt is a step towards your true desire. The incessant quest for approval transforms into a silent affirmation: you are already enough. And so you take a deep breath and step towards a clearer future. Reality presents itself in its raw and unadorned form. The choice is made. The cycle ends when you decide to step away, illuminating the path ahead. You no longer need to justify yourself. It is time to define yourself. You realize that the echo of your own voice is more powerful than any empty promise. The feeling of doubt fades, replaced by clarity that once seemed distant. Your essence begins to emerge from the shadows, a silent force that challenges all the narratives that were imposed upon you. Each step towards the unknown is not an act of bravery, but a recognition that fragility can also be a form of resistance. You finally understand that vulnerability is not synonymous with weakness, but the foundation upon which you can rebuild. Understanding this is like opening a window on a sunny day. The air comes in, fresh and invigorating. You feel the lightness of choice, the freedom to decide for yourself. It is a counterpoint to the weight of uncertainty that once accompanied you. As you emotionally detach, you realize that fragmented memories do not mean you have to carry them. They are part of a chapter that has already been closed. With each new dawn, you allow yourself to let go of the past a little more. The memories, once like anchors, now float away, leaving space for the new. Interactions start to change. Conversations with friends reveal new layers of connection that you didn't know were possible. Words are exchanged without fear. Laughter echoes with authenticity. The security you seek doesn't come from external approval, but from an internal certainty that your worth is not tied to his presence. When he reappears, there's a moment of hesitation. Familiarity seems tempting, but the light you have gained exposes the flaws of what once was your reality. You are no longer the shadow he asked you to be. You are a complete being with your own desires, who does not submit to emotional games. He tries to charm you again, but the effect is different now. There is a distance that cannot be ignored. You observe his gestures, the old promises sounding like off-key music. The words that once brought you hope now become mere empty repetitions. The compassion you feel for him is genuine, but it doesn't get confused with the pain he imposed. You are not responsible for his choices. This becomes clear. He may be lost in his own darkness, but you are not obligated to accompany him into that abyss. The space you have created for yourself is filled with new experiences, encounters that bring genuine laughter, dialogues that flow without tension. You rediscover forgotten hobbies, allow yourself to dance, read, laugh without restrictions. Life outside that relationship starts to seem vibrant, almost magical. Your eyes open to the beauty of the world. You observe nature, the small things that once went unnoticed, the color of the sky at sunset, the sound of birds, the laughter of children playing. Each detail brings a new significance, a reminder of what it means to live fully. And so, you start to realize that your happiness does not depend on someone who does not know how to value your essence. The truth is hard but liberating. You already had everything within you. You just needed to allow yourself to access it. He continues to appear, seeking a space that no longer exists. In one of these encounters, something changes. You look him in the eyes, and instead of looking away, you remain firm. He is no longer a mystery but an echo of what was, and upon seeing him, a wave of empathy arises, but quickly fades away. Your peace is more valuable than any nostalgia. The feeling of control begins to solidify. You refuse to feel guilty for your decision to move forward. It's not selfishness, it's self-worth. The silence that was once uncomfortable now embraces you like an old friend. You realize that you don't need external validation to exist. His words become part of a storyline you no longer desire. And when he tries to reverse the situation, the indifference that once caused you unease transforms into calm. The days turn, the weeks advance, and you allow yourself to bloom. The old wound slowly heals, and emotional pain turns into learning. You collect the pieces of the experience, not as a burden, but as traces of a won battle. Looking back, there is no regret, only gratitude for the lessons learned. The path is long, but now you walk with firm steps, each resounding with the determination to never accept less than you deserve. And when the past tries to whisper, you quiet it, confident that the only relationship that truly matters is the one you develop with yourself. The truth has already been presented. In this moment, in this space, you are enough. You realize that freedom is not just a state of being, but a continuous choice. Each day brings new discoveries about yourself. Forgotten interests resurface, friendships strengthen. The weight of the past, once overwhelming, now dissolves into self-awareness. You finally embrace your uniqueness, revealing an inner strength that has always been there, waiting to resonate. The joy is genuine, without filters or reservations. In every smile there is a reflection of rebirth, a celebration of the self that flourishes in authenticity.